Hey guys, my name is Miska and welcome to Overwatch Central. In today's video we're going to be talking about solo queue. So a lot of people seem to talk about solo queue in Overwatch as this very toxic and hopeless environment. In this video I want to talk about why solo queue is so important and why it is also one of the best ways to grind and rank up. I feel like a lot of tips in this video are extremely underrated. I hear some people talk about some of these, but I just don't think a lot of people understand just how different solo queue is from grouping up and how you can make use and sort of exploit some things around this and hopefully gain some SR in the process. It's all about the right mindset and making use of the things that are unique to solo queue. So let's just get started with some of these. The first one being the mindset here and just going into solo queue, how you should be acting and how you should be thinking. And the main thing is that a lot of people go into solo queue, they press that queue up button and they sort of brace for impact as if it's some horrible thing to queue up for that will without a doubt result in just a horrible time. And this is where a lot of people go wrong straight away. If this is the way you go into ranked and this is the way you go into solo queue and you can sort of recognize yourself in this, then just stop right now and listen carefully here. By doing this, you almost tilt yourself before you even start. You become part of those people in solo queue that will be almost irritated straight from the get-go. Even if you're not a very vocal person and you don't talk a lot in voice chat, you're still going into this thinking that you're just gonna have a bad time instead of trying to have more of a neutral approach to every match. And this is so important, especially in solo queue. Getting out of this way of thinking is essential to get anywhere in solo queue at all, and even just snapping out of this alone will improve your experience solo queuing for sure. What I recommend if you're not doing it already is that whilst you're in queue, just do something else, get your mind off of the game, and then go into a match with a more neutral mindset. It really helps me. I had really bad tilting issues, honestly, back in sort of December, where I would queue up for solo queue and just be kind of angry when I was queuing up, and it wasn't helping anyone. Right, next up I want to talk about making use of solo queue, things you can kind of exploit around solo queue, and you should really be doing these things as this is what solo queuing is all about. So let's begin. What does solo queuing actually mean? Well, it means that you are alone, you're going in solo without any sort of grouped up or pre-made group of teammates, and there will be the same type of situation on the enemy team. At least one, but probably almost everyone or a lot of people in this game will be going into this solo. The team to make better use of this situation, coordinate more, synergize more, and just perform better together will be the team that will gain an advantage. And once an advantage is gained in solo queue, it's very hard for enemy teams a lot of the time to feel like they really want to come back. People give up pretty easily in solo queue, I'm not gonna lie. But even then, overall in solo queue, it's very difficult to sort of pull yourself together as a team and feel like you want to come back. So you want to be gaining that advantage early on. There are a few different ways of doing this, but looking at the game in this way can be very helpful. Before I talked about being annoying and figuring out what the enemy team would find annoying, and by doing that figuring out what you should actually be doing in your role. This definitely applies to solo queue, as if you manage to sort of tilt someone on the enemy team, it's gonna be very hard for that team to actually come back and properly work together again. And it sounds almost a little bit toxic, honestly, but you kind of want to be doing that. You kind of want to be killing a Zenyatta over and over again if you're playing Winston or Tracer, and just making sure that they don't really get to play the game. If you're a healer on your team, you want to anti-heal that Roadhog over and over so he can't overextend, and that he feels very annoyed about your Ana, wants to maybe overextend and try to pick off your Ana, and instead gets punished for going too far into your team. There's stuff like this that you need to kind of be thinking about. There's always a person on the other side playing that hero, and you want to kind of almost exploit that. Solo queue is all about this, creating these advantages for your team and seizing that opportunity and keeping that momentum throughout a match. If you manage to do that early on in a solo queue match, you are very likely to win a lot of the time. And this is also why a lot of people say that solo queue can be the best way to rank up if you just need to grind out a lot of SR and you're in the sort of mid to even high but not very high tiers, and you just want to grind out a bunch of games and get better and improve. Right, next thing I want to talk about is autopiloting in Overwatch, and this is extremely important and something that can be very difficult to recognize, and it is why me giving you this tip won't necessarily help you alone, but it might get you on the right track to sort of correct your way of playing. So just never autopilot, never queue up for a solo queue unless you really want to try your hardest to win. It sounds a little bit cheesy and a bit dumb, but it's very true. If you queue up hoping for a few chill solo queue games before going to bed, you're in the wrong mindset entirely here, and you just probably shouldn't be playing at all, to be honest. You don't want to just autopilot. Some people call this playing like a bot, and nothing describes this better than that, to be honest. A lot of the time people will call each other bots or that they're botting out. And it's kind of like an insult, but there's a lot of truth to this, as just sort of playing on autopilot, not really thinking about the way you're playing and making dumb decisions because of that happens a lot, and especially in solo queue, as a lot of people that go in with friends will try to have a better time together, try to make use of the situation and think a little bit more about the play. Some people get more tilted by playing with friends sometimes. Other people, like me for example, actually have a harder time playing with a duo or a trio, as I sort of talk too much when that happens. But autopiloting happens regardless and happens a lot in solo queue, and it sounds a bit dumb, but you kind of need to just turn on your brain and make sure that it stays on. Thinking about your plays, reflecting back on what happened when you died real quick, getting back into the match and just sort of getting a grip of what's actually going on in that game, rather than just walking out of spawn, holding left mouse button, pressing E and Q occasionally, and that's about all you do. There needs to be more thought put into your play, and one way of recognizing if you're autopiloting or not, for example, is to just take a moment and try and remember the ranked games you've played after a session. If you feel like you can't quite remember what happened, or you can't quite remember what you were doing and what you were trying to do in those games, then you may very well have just been in sort of autopilot mode and just been playing and not really thinking a lot about what you're doing. And this is very dangerous. You'll just wasting your own time. You will probably lose a lot because of this. A lot of people that go on losing streaks are people that fall into this type of mindset, and it can be very hard to snap out of. But yeah, just some self-reflecting to do, I guess you could say. Right, finally, the solo queue is a grind. It is perfect for improving mechanically, and there's no need to rely on a friend to queue with either or anything like that, and you need to look at it as a grind. It shouldn't just be a way of you wanting to queue up and win some quick SR before you go to bed so you can feel better about yourself tomorrow and maybe brag to some friends at school or at work or whatever. It shouldn't be that. It should be you wanting to really play Overwatch, play it in a competitive way, and try your best to improve mechanically, and that's why the solo queue grind is just perfect for this, and just get playing and get grinding. You can apply all of the things I mentioned in the video I made talking about improving in ranked, sure, and that may very well help you get better and help you improve when you're actually grinding out a lot of solo queue. But you need to look at solo queue as an opportunity to improve at the game, rather than a way to queue up without any other teammates and just quickly get a ranked game and hopefully some SR underway. That's not what it should be. Solo queue to me definitely feels like an opportunity for me to improve my individual skill, as getting better with coordination and everything else kind of comes with time and comes with playing with premates and so on. So if you can focus a lot on your own, whilst also making sure that you can kind of make use of these different aspects that solo queue bring, then you can definitely rank up and do very well here. Alright, that's basically it for this video though. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I worded myself somewhat well here. I was kind of just speaking from very few notes and just personal experience with solo queue. Some of these things may seem a little bit blurry and hard to understand, so feel free to ask questions in the comments below. But yeah, like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more Overwatch content as per usual. You guys know the drill by now. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you then.